about to get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, don't tell them what to say. Tinfoil haters are here to save the day. To get started to see which one can be the most retarded. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show. Tinfoil haters, it's time to start the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Tinfoil Haters Late Night Edition. How are all you vital idols doing? We got a hell of a show for you guys today. Granted, we got a show happening a little bit later in the evening because your boy went to go see a movie. In fact, Cindy, you saw a movie as well. We saw the same movie, Iron Lung. But yeah, all showings were happening at the time this show would have taken place. So this isn't going to be a normal thing, doing these 11 p.m. shows. But I quite enjoyed it. What about you?
Iron Lung, I like. It took a minute for me to stop seeing Markiplier, but once I could,
15-20 minutes as well. He was just Markiplier, but then after that, it's like, oh, he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah, he was. Oh my gosh, I was blown away. I was like, this is not the same goofy, lovable Markiplier that everybody knows.
And the movie was not goofy or lovable. For anybody curious,
No.
We're not obviously talking about the movie the whole fucking time. We have a show to run, but it's a serious movie. Like, it is a mind fuck. It is a psychological horror. It is heavily reliant on atmospheric horror.
It's cosmic horror. It's fascinating.
Cosmic horror. Yeah, there was only one moment in the entire movie where I laughed. There was only like one quote unquote funny moment. All the rest is played completely straight.
I don't think I laughed at all. Oh man.
No, there was one part. I believe he said something along the lines of I don't remember what it is. He's like, oh, I broke it, or it's like, oh well, I'm gonna no. He opens up that crawl space. He goes, oh fuck this.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if it was meant to be funny, but I laughed at the delivery.
I could see that.
Beyond that, I didn't laugh at all. Again, it is not a comedy. It is not Markiplier as you guys normally see him. Highly recommend it. But we got a show to run, and you're on limited time. But of course, if you got to bounce out, I'm going to keep going, and then we'll just raid into you. But tell the people who you are, what you do, what you got going on the whole night, my lovely co-host. Obviously, as you guys can notice, no snorkel tonight on account of it's midnight his time.
Yes, it is pretty late, but I am Cindy. I like to talk about anime, gaming, and on occasion, a little bit of horror. So Tuesdays are one of my favorite days.
You love to see it. Well, we definitely got some horror tonight. This is truly quite horrifying. But before that, we got a couple of pre-stream legends. Our boy Jake motherfucking Martin coming in with a 10-banger super sticker. Dude, shout out. Thank you oh so much. It's a little gamepad controller with all the sunglasses. Thank you. This is for you.
Chip, you know what? You just made the list. Oh, no.
Oh, here we go.
And then Real Life Fake Monkey came in with a 10-banger saying, let's get tinfoily, no pillow talk. Have y'all heard the new craze about inflata? Wait, about inflate? Some say it's on the right. I hate you. I hate you.
Leon, Moxie, are y'all niggas happy? Y'all happy? You proud of yourself? I hope you niggas is happy. Congratulations to all the new single moms on the channel, but I just hope you niggas are just so happy with what you've done.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You were about to say something. The clip started playing. What were you saying?
He just really likes to tell people his fetish. That's okay.
Yeah, I've noticed. All right, let's see what we got in this bitch. Dallo Greenskins here, DJ Ronnie G, Obi-Wan Kenobi says 11 p.m. Why so late? Well, you know why so late. We told you. We went and saw Iron Lung. Free Expression Warriors up in this bitch. Stupinzo is here. Shout out. Gal Carrymon up in this bitch. Zax is here. C Brew. Matt Stanford, what is up? And again, Jake, thank you so much for the 10 banger. We got Daxonar, best mod in the whole damn land. What is up, Daxonar? Who else we got? Alfredo Chorizo is here. Again, thank you so much, Real Life Fake Monkey, for the 10 banger. Eagle Lord, what is up? Little Miss Anonymous says, me, y'all. How you doing, LMA? Stony Kenobi, hello there. Finally made it in time. You didn't make it in time. We're doing this way late. Frankly, it's normally 7 p.m. Central Time show. So you're lucky, you son of a bitch. But we're glad that you're here. Let's see who else we got. That might just be. Oh, no, we got the true Aztec Warrior is here. What is up, Aztec? You love to see it. Fractal Mage is here. Shout out to Fractal Mage. Let's see. Now that might be everybody. Well, I mean, we got bots over on Kick. That's good to see. Alrighty. I think that's everyone. Perfect. Alrighty, crew, let's get conspiratorial. Cinevere, have you ever heard of the Akashic Records?
I can't say that I have.
I had neither until relatively recently. And then I was actually doing one of my Saturday night analog horror streams a couple months ago. We were doing Midwest Angelica. And Midwest Angelica had this thing called the Akashic Records. I was like, interesting. I feel like I'd heard of that somewhere. So Serranos posted about what it was, being the gym that he is. And I was like, oh shit, this would make for an excellent TFH episode. So today, spent some time doing a little bit of research, getting a little loosey-goosey, and turns out I got fucking terrified. So before we get into the Akashic Records, Real Life Big Believer, a 2-banger, Inflate is not a fet, it's a lifestyle. You know what?
Stop it. Get some help.
So let's just go ahead and give a quick rundown of what the Akashic Records are, for those of you that may or may not know. Understanding the Akashic Records and how to access them. The Akashic Records are a compendium of all human knowledge that can be accessed on the astral plane. According to Theosophist philosophy, the Akashic Records don't just pass judgment or label actions as good or bad. Rather, they simply state what has been. Knowledge of this book of life can influence our views of reality and serve as a tool for self-development. Now, there's a lot more, and we'll get into it, but do you have anything off the top of your dome that you'd like to just state about that right now?
I don't understand how that would work, but like,
what do you...
how would that all be stored? Like, is that on a hard drive or...
It's funny you mentioned like that. So actually, it very much can be equated to the way that we have digital or cyber storage nowadays. Think of it as God's hard drive or God's journal of memories. So it is all of the collective knowledge, past, present, and probable futures of the entire universe in a dimension outside space-time.
Huh, okay. I think I've seen something like that on like the Justice League or something.
Well, so here's a more in-depth version. According to followers of the Theosophic spiritual movement, which originated in the 19th century, all of the thoughts, events, and knowledge throughout history of mankind are stored together in a massive cosmic compendium known as the Akashic Records, sometimes referred to as the Book of Life. This collection of wisdom and ideas is seen as more than just a compilation of stored information. Instead, these records can be viewed as a guidance tool that can influence our thoughts, feelings, and views of reality. Edgar Cayce, the famous clairvoyant and metaphysical teacher who's considered the founder of a modern New Age movement, said the Akashic Records are God's book of remembrance. Now, are you familiar with Edgar Cayce?
I am not.
Edgar Cayce is an interesting dude. He might warrant his very own episode. Edgar Cayce is probably the most famous psychic in American history. He got a lot of predictions right. Now, to be fair, like most psychics, he also got a lot of shit wrong. But he predicted the rise to power of Hitler, the rise of the Soviet Union. He predicted the stock market crash. He even predicted his own death, stating, "I'll be buried in 4 days." He died 2 days later, and then 2 days after his death, he was buried. So dude got a lot of shit right. He also got a lot of shit wrong. So was he just really good at studying trends and made his predictions based off just being able to understand patterns? or was he a psychic? Maybe we'll find that out if we do our own episode. But he claimed that he got his information by hacking in to the Akashic Record. Upon time and space is written the thoughts, the deeds, the activities of an entity, as in relationships to its environs and its hereditary influence, as directed or judgment drawn according to what the entity's ideal is. Some people believe the Akashic Records are comprised of the energy that makes up everything in the universe. Throughout all space and time, the energy is called Akasha, a combination of Sanskrit word Akasa, meaning hidden or secret space, with the root word Kas, meaning simply to be. All this information is believed to be stored in the ethereal plane, a non-physical place which is part of the cosmic whole. Many people believe the Akashic Records can be accessed by anyone, although there are some schools of thought that must be specifically trained to access this universal source of wisdom. Of note, the Akashic Records, according to most practitioners, are completely objective and unbiased. They don't focus on morality or judgment or the labeling of things as good or bad. They are simply a record of what has been and what is. So, before we go any further, y'all ready, Mind Melton?
Yes.
Are you understanding the concept though?
It's using different. It's not English. It's something called Sanskrit.
Sanskrit's an early language. The word Akashic is just that it's got Sanskrit roots, just like how our words in English have Latin roots. A lot of times.
And it's in a secret space.
It's in the ethereal. Go on.
Does it have a password?
Well, sort of, actually. It's less of a password and more of a protection. Like, you need to be skilled in certain spiritual facets to be able to access it, but anyone can get skilled in those teachings and be able to do so. Some might be more naturally attuned to it than others, but really anyone can do it. At least that's the basis. So think of this like, I mean, because you're a Catholic, right? You're a religious individual. Think of it like God. Now, the way I think of God, and I assume you're the same, or maybe you haven't really thought about it too much. God doesn't really exist in this dimension, right?
Right.
Like, for God to create this dimension, to create time, space, whole nine, he had to already be outside of it.
Okay. I didn't know that, but okay.
Say it again?
I didn't know that, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, how can God create something that doesn't exist yet that he exists within? So God exists outside of space-time. He had to be outside the universe if he was going to create the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of this as the exact same way. This is the Akashic Records are a logbook of all human history of everything ever, every thought, every emotion, every single just cosmic entity you can think of is written in this record.
Man, there's going to be whole sections of records that should not be looked at ever. It's just nothing but gooning.
Yes, you're correct. The Akashic Records and the Theosophical movement. So during the late 19th century, a Russian immigrant named Helena Blavatsky came to the United States and soon found herself at the center of a new spiritual movement known as Theosophy. Drawing upon the occult philosophies from Europe, Asian thought processes, and Western mystery traditions, the Theosophists believed that a secret cabal of spiritual masters centralized in Tibet would someday bring back all the great occult knowledge that would have been the world has lost over time. Blavatsky, who died in 1891, was a strong proponent of the Akashic Records, which she referred to as tablets of astral light. Blavatsky's contemporary and fellow Theosophist, Alfred Percy Sennett, later coined the term Akashic Records, which is still used today. In the early 20th century, Austrian philosopher Rudolf Joseph Steiner, also a Theosophist, took the concept of the Akashic Records a step further. He founded a movement known as Anthroposophy, which was heavily influenced by Blavatsky and the Theosophist teachings. Steiner maintained his clairvoyant ability allowed him to access the Akashic Records, thus giving him a storehouse of universal cosmic wisdom. So here we've got yet another person saying, I'm psychic and I get my shit from the Akashic Records. Steiner claimed to have, among other things, insight into the life of Jesus Christ that are not recorded in the Bible, and referred to this information as the fifth gospel. Among other events, he said he had access to an Akashic account of Jesus' life among the Essenes and an important conversation with Jesus and Mary. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Like, if we're looking at this through the frame of history, pretty much all historians agree that Jesus existed. He existed. He was real. In fact, he was a very prominent figure. Now, they might not necessarily believe he was the son of God, depending on whether or not they ascribe to certain religions, but almost everybody acknowledges the figure that was Jesus was a real person, correct?
Okay, yeah.
Well, I don't know how much you know about your Bible lore and whatnot, but what's a real common trope in anime when they want to show character growth real quick? Like,
Um, they do a montage.
nope. Even show gives less information than a montage. Pretty much all big shonen anime do this at one type or another, at one point or another.
I don't. Usually they do a big year skip.
Bingo, bango, bongo, a time skip, a time skip, exactly. Now, I don't know if you know your Bible history, but the Bible does a time skip as well. The Bible has kid Jesus up through about 10 years old, and then Jesus pieces the fuck out, and the Bible restarts with him in his 30s.
So I didn't know that, but it's basically taking out his teenage years.
It's basically taking out what is theorized all the time it took for him to mentally reconcile that he is the son of God. Let's
Or
be real. That probably weighed pretty heavy on your psyche and your emotions and shit, right?
yeah,
So-
I can imagine that. And then if possibly knowing how your outcome is going to happen, you still have to come to terms with that too.
Right, exactly. And yes, the Alacrene skin, the Bible does constant time skips, but my point is, like, I'm using the Jesus one as an example because he's saying here he supposedly used the Akashic record to, get insights in the life of Christ that are not recorded in the Bible, i.e., the 20-year biblical time skip. So why access the Akashic records? Today, many people are approaching the Akashic Records as tools for personal growth and self-development. Intuitive teacher and author Linda Howe, who leads a class on accessing the Akashic Records, says, today the records are no longer the exclusive domain of saints, scholars, and mystics. The collective consciousness of humanity has been growing and evolving, maturing. Modern practitioners, much like Blavatsky and her peers, can access the Akashic Records by way of prayer, meditation, intuitive study, and working with spirit guides for assistance. There are a few simple steps you should keep in mind if you want to attempt to access the Akashic knowledge. Now, we're not going to go through all this shit, right?
Okay.
But I wanted you to get an idea of what they are. Basically, it is a cosmic extra planar library of everything.
I'm swearing I recall a Doctor Who episode of that.
I very possibly. I don't watch Doctor Who, so I don't fucking know. But very maybe. So let's talk about Edgar Casey on the Akashic Records real quick, because Edgar Casey, again, he's a fascinating figure. Fascinating figure. When asked about the source of information, Edgar Casey replied there were essentially two. The first was the subconscious, mind you, the information, as in the information where he gets his predictions. The first was subconscious mind of the individual from whom he was giving the reading, and the second was the Akashic Records. And then this just tells us what the Akashic Records are, but we already explained that. So this is what he has to say about it. Upon time and space is written the thoughts, the deeds, the activities of an entity as in relationships to its environs and the hereditary influence or judgment drawn by according to what the entity's ideal is. Hence, as has been oft called, the record of God's book of remembrance. Each entity, each soul, as the activities of a single day of an entity in the material world, either makes some good or bad indifferent depending on the entity's application of self. So basically what he's saying, question, what is it meant by the book of life? He answers, the record that the individual entity itself writes upon the sky of time and space through patience and is open with itself attuned to the infinite and may be read by those attuning to the consciousness. He's saying God's making a list and checking it twice, Santa Claus style, and anybody can witness, can read it if they had the tool, the skill to get to it. So this all sounds all fine and dandy and new agey and shit like this, right?
Right.
What if I told you the military, CIA, military apparatus, the U.S. government, whole nine, took it seriously and probably still takes it seriously considering this paper? This isn't one of those declassified CIA files or whatnot. No. We'll get to those later. This is from 2020.
Does this go hand in hand with the whole CIA trying to learn psychics?
Well, you're beating me to the punch, but yes, that's exactly where we're headed with this. I wanted to make sure you understood the idea of what the Akashic Records even were before we get on to the military and CIA aspect of it.
Huh.
So, we got this title right here. Hacking the Akashic Records, the next domain for military intelligence operations by Jeff Levin, Baylor University. Now, before we actually go through this, let's talk a little bit about Jeff, right? Jeffy boy here, PhD. He's a doctor. Jeff's a doctor. Dr. Jeff Levin is an epidemiologist by training, holds a distinguished chair at Baylor University, where he is the University Professor of Epidemiology and Population Health, Professor of Medical Humanities, and Director of the Program on Religion and Population Health at the Institute of Studies for Religion. He also serves as an affiliate member for the Center of Medical Ethics and Health Policy at Baylor College of Medicine. Basically, dude ain't no slouch. He got some actual real credentials to him if we were to make an appeal to credentialism. Dr. Levin has authored over 230 scholarly publications, mostly on the instrumental functions of religion for physical and mental health, general well-being, and aging. He has written or edited 12 books, most recently Religion and Medicine, A History of the Encounter Between Humanity's Two Greatest Institutions, and the forthcoming Energy Healers, the story of the world's most unconventional healing practitioners. Now, the dude is, again, he's an epidemiologist. That means he studies, disease, viruses and whatnot for a living. Like he's got himself a reputation. He also got some pretty wackadoo followers, like this gal right here.
Well, he really has been a healer since he was a child. He's very, very, one of the very few really great healers walking this earth. Very humble, very beautiful, spiritual being. And in his early 20s, he became a channel. He developed the capacity to channel. And years later, having learned all kinds of different forms of healing and working as a healer completely naturally, and trained as a naturopath, one day, a team of light beings began to channel through him. And over a period of nearly 25 years, they have been sending him pieces of life alignment. It's so vast in scope that they would send a piece sort of once a year. And then he used to be an architect, so he's got that kind of wonderful mind that can envisage something
This is the subject
before it's drawn on paper. So he developed a way to put it in a form where he could teach it to all of us, any of us who wanted to do it. And over the many years, it's grown. It's now in 22 countries around the world. So that's how it is a gift that he has brought through for all of us.
So, yeah, that was one of Dr. Jeff Levin's little followers there. What'd you think of that?
Why do they always assume there was like a ray of light? Maybe it's done quietly without any fanfare.
Look, that video from 7 years ago and it got a little over 1,000 views. I don't think a lot of people take that broad seriously because you're asking the right questions. But this is the reason I want to bring all that up about Dr. Jeff Levin. He's the one that wrote this. Hacking the Akashic Records, the next domain for military intelligence operations. Now, remember when you said earlier about it, like you were comparing it to cyber or digital?
Mm-hmm.
You beat me to the punch because that's exactly what he does. So here's the abstract. This paper outlines a hypothetical sixth dimension doctrine for military intelligence gathering in the Akashic domain. The Akashic records are described by esotericists and mystics as a permanent record of all thoughts, feelings, and actions stored in a kind of cosmic memory bank outside of space and time. Psychics, clairvoyants, and other intuitives purport to read the records, suggesting that the development of an operational strategy for accessing such information may be possible. Command oversight, however, would present significant moral challenges, as hacking into this information would be a personally intrusive invasion of privacy with serious repercussions for operators and state sponsors. Now, let's be real. When has our government ever given a fuck about the ethics of spying on not only its own people, but not only other people's, but its own people as well?
Yeah, they don't give a fuck. But maybe they are afraid of like the repercussions, which would be weird considering all the weird shit they've pulled already. I don't see why that would be the line.
Yeah, so here's what the paper actually says. It's 15 pages. We're not going to go over the whole thing. We are going to hit some highlights. In 1980, Colonel John B. Alexander published a provocative article entitled The New Mental Battlefield, which I don't remember if we've covered on this show or not. I have actually read this, or at least read excerpts from it. It's really interesting. In Military Review, written during a period of heightened tensions amidst the Cold War, the article mentioned a long-rumored Soviet program to develop military intelligence applications of paranormal technologies. We'll be getting to that a little bit later in the show. Specifically noting an existential fear among a cadre of U.S. military intelligence leadership of what was termed a psi gap. And acknowledging the likely controversial nature of the subject in his recommendations, Alexander subtitled his article, Beam Me Up, Spock. Indeed, a paper later published in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists referred to Alexander's work as notorious and was generally dismissive and derisive, but without offering any substantive critique of his ideas.
I've actually heard of that.
What?
I've actually heard of that paper. I don't remember where, but I've heard of that paper.
Interesting. In the 40 years since, several books and articles have gone to great depths of features of the U.S. government military operations which sought functional capabilities in the paranormal realm. These include projects involving the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, military intelligence, branches including INSCOM, several more. Conspiracy magazines have weighed in with the sensational claims about secretive projects involving remote viewing or psychic spying. More scholarly documentation confirms that whatever their objectives and outcomes, such programs indeed existed. Part of a larger programmatic effort by the military to validate methods to enhance human performance with formal evaluative research, such as undertaken by the National Research Council, later dismissed as mostly unproven. Projects undertaken from the 1970s to the 90s, such as Stargate and its predecessors, were the subject of considerable controversy, and the literature is replete with critiques and counter-critiques. So basically, he's saying, to sum this simple part up, is, hey, we already know that throughout the Cold War, really starting in the 50s, we'll say the 70s to the 90s, but really starting in the 50s, USA, the U.S. government, and frankly other governments around the world, did a whole lot of experimentation with psychic shit. That's that people in the time since have said, that was fucking stupid, why were you doing that? Like, that's the gist. Here he has to say, the Akashic Records are defined by esoterics and mystics. We know what the Akashic Records are at this point. We know what the Akashic Records are. We spent the last, hot bit talking about it. So, operational parameters of Akashic Intelligence Domain. Unlike much of conventional remote viewing, Akashic readings may be more suited to reading the mind and consciousness of enemy targets and clairvoyantly viewing the future behavior and collective action of such individuals. The targets would not be military installations, geographic or geological features, or other natural or man-made structures, but rather the psyche and life course of persons of interest. The operational objectives would involve understanding targets' presumptions and motivations, discerning their likely decision-making calculus and future and past actions. Engaging in such readings and tasking subordinates to do so would, for sure, be considerably more complex than conventional behavioral profiling, involving a much more invasive probe of the personal space of one's targets. Such tasking may potentially present moral red space of one's targets. Moral red flags cautioning against the use and misuse of information gleaned from the Akashic readings that were intended for strategic and tactical purposes. So basically, do you get what he's saying here? Because if not, I'll use the easy words for you.
Yeah, use the easy words. Break it down for me.
He's saying we could hypothetically get our best and brightest in the military to be well trained enough to access the Akashic records, to spy and profile and get complete psychological and emotional understanding of basically any target we want that we consider an enemy of the United States.
That would be exceedingly fucked up, but hell of an edge.
Exactly. We're talking literal psychic soldiers.
Yeah, I just can't see that happening. That would require a lot of trust and some way to keep them in line.
Well, again, that is assuming that we, the average person, were even privy to it.
True enough.
I mean, this could be happening right now for all we know. Now, again, this paper isn't one of them declassified things from the 80s. This was written in 2020. This paper is only 6 years old.
Okay. Well, so if we disappeared, that's what happened. We just got too close to the truth.
No kidding. The recommendations that follow are modeled in part after the Department of Defense's 2015 cyber strategy. That's why when you brought that up, you were quite on the money. A few strategic goals are provided, followed by a selected implementation of objectives. It should be understood that this material is drafted in broad strokes by an academic scientist outside of the loop. This template can be developed further, with details filled in by the individual with command authority and greater content expertise. With these caveats in mind, basic requirements of an Akashic intelligence gathering program may be constructed around the following goals and objectives. Now, here's where it breaks down how it should work. This should include recruiting and maintaining an Akashic workforce. Basically, literally, this is the Akashic Army branch of the military. Through establishing a persistent training environment, creating job titles and/or career paths for personnel involved in performing and supporting operations, and identifying civilian and technical personnel, building technical capabilities for Akashic operations through accelerating research and development, including the private sector partners, testing and continually refining a command and control mechanism for the Akashic operations, especially so that it functions efficiently and is practical. Go for it.
What I feel like is they really are trying to create their very own minority report.
That's actually even smaller scale than what they want. Because you're right, they could do that, but that you just be doing it with cops in your own cities, right, or your own country or whatnot. They want to extrapolate even further to say we want the military to use this for war or war prevention or war resolution purposes against other countries and other militaries. It'd be a whole lot easier to stop what's going down in Ukraine and Russia if we knew what both sides were going to do, because we can see the fucking future.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Oh, man.
So what you're saying would be possible, but this takes it a step even further.
That sounds like setting up for one world order type thing.
It would be very easy to create a new a one world order, a new world order, if you had this sort of access. Yes, you're correct.
Oh.
Now, moral considerations. The first word in the title of this article is hacking. According to the latest edition of Oxford's Dictionary of Computer Science, hacking is defined simply as unauthorized access to computer material. A related term referring to the dark side of hacking is cracking. By the way, a lot of people get these two mixed up. Anytime a lot of people say, oh, so-and-so was hacked or whatnot, or they're a hacker, actually, they likely mean cracker or cracking, because that's what is gaining or attempting to gain unauthorized access to computers with malicious intent. The malicious intent part is really important. Under whichever name, this activity has been identified in its conventional cyber-related sense as a significant terrorism threat, as it may result in the exposure of critical government or military secrets or compromised infrastructure systems such as public utilities. The prevention of hacking or cracking thus has long been recognized as a matter of national security. But hacking itself, in the expanded sense of immersing oneself in computer systems details to optimize the capabilities, also connotes proactive behavior in furtherance of intelligence or security goals and objectives. Now, do you need the simple word version on that as well?
Yeah, because I have no idea what you just said.
Basically, what we would be doing is hacking. If we're to use the tech terminology, the way we hack computers and we crack computers, we would be actually doing the exact same thing with the Akashic Records. But it would be morally justified because, hey, just because we're not doing it, or if we choose not to do it, doesn't mean China won't do it and won't do it to us.
Yeah, I feel like that's how they justify everything, right?
Exactly. And this is the exact same argument that's being made here. In the context of the Akashic Records, the word hacking is used metaphorically. It's not meant to be taken literally here, but it has nothing to do with computers or the internet after all. But on second thought, maybe it should. Hacking refers to unauthorized access being sought to an invisible domain, possibly with malicious intent, such as for the purposes of espionage or the prevention and protection against such malicious actions. Insofar as strengthening the security of our nation against such unauthorized breaches in the best interest of the citizenry, then indeed hacking or reading the Akashic Records for defense purposes would seem justifiable for the same reasons that we take active measures to defend against cyber or conventional threats, because the Akashic domain hypothetically contains all possible information about potential enemies and allies. Then by advocating Akashic hacking, one may be condoning the most invasive violation of personal space imaginable, breaking into the realm presumed to be absolutely private from all eyes or ears except God's.
You know, they're so quick to say, oh, well, we have to do this before another bad country does it, right? How are they going to keep that from happening?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, like, short of saying there could be like like psychic warfare, like actual Pokemon style. Oh, dude, you just took psychic damage.
Mhm.
I don't fucking know. That's the only thing. If multiple countries are doing this, that's the only thing I could see being the outcome.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're desperately seeking justification in what they're doing so they don't feel bad about it.
Well, they are. I don't even know that it's desperate, and here's why. Well, actually, you know, before we get into the files, before we get into the CIA files, because I know you got going like 10 minutes, so I want to at least read the conclusion of this, and then we'll get into the CIA stuff. Today, the 5-dimension doctrine is the current warfare paradigm. U.S. Cybercom has been at full operational capacity for over a decade, and its mission is ongoing in protecting our nation. According to the ADM Rogers, cyber war is not some future concept or cinematic spectacle. It is real and here to stay. But there was a time, as recently as the 1980s, when the idea of cyber as a domain for military and intelligence operations must have seemed futuristic, like something out of science fiction. Accordingly, the idea of an Akashic domain as a component of the new doctrine of 6-dimension operations may likewise seem bizarre, impractical, or otherworldly, yet, as noted earlier, there is precedent for the work that would constitute the operations of intelligence gathering in this domain. So do you get what that meant, what he said there?
Basically, they have to try and attempt it anyway.
Yeah, he basically justifies it by saying, look, back in the 80s, 70s, whatever, cyber warfare must have seemed like something you would just see on fucking Star Trek, but it became a reality.
Mhm.
So what is to say that this won't also become a reality? We should probably go ahead and prep for it.
Huh. More justification.
More justification. But this is where that justification might be justified. So these are records from the CIA, declassified records from November 10th, 1985. They were declassified on August 10th, 2000. So 15 years later. Almost 15 years later. Washington Dateline, Christopher Hansen, keyword psychic. Military agents with extrasensory perception, ESP, are put to work reading the minds of enemy generals 5,000 miles away and visualizing secret war plans locked in safes. Government agents with another bizarre mental power, the ability to move physical objects without touching them and to affect the pulse rates of human beings, use their skill to sabotage weapons and cause heart attacks in enemy leaders. Scientists use a machine to extract a mysterious form of energy from the brain and use it as a death beam. These cases from a hypothetical mind war are the stuff of science fiction, but the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, report expressed fear that major Soviet psychotronic research effort may be developing just such mental powers. So basically, the U.S. is right here admitting, we think the Russians can actually do this shit. Soviet and Czech psychotronic research has powerful potential for use as an effective weapon against groups of men and leaders, according to the report, a copy of which was provided to Reuters by a private source. Some skeptics have dismissed reports about Soviet psychic experiments as disinformation aimed at confusing the West. Many mainstream scientists reject psychic research. Now, that is important to note. Like, if you were Soviet Russia, right? If you were the Soviet Union, if you were the USSR, and you wanted to bluff the Americans into thinking you're more badass than you are, I mean, saying, yo, we got psychic soldiers that can just shut your fucking brain down by looking at you, that's a pretty good way to make your enemy feel pretty ill-equipped.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then you look at the war with Ukraine and you realize it's full of shit.
Well, no, I'd say you look at the war in Ukraine and you realize that Russia could have glassed that place years ago if they wanted to. They're really kind of just playing nice because they want the land, so they don't want to destroy the land.
Yeah, but you could destroy the people without destroying the land.
Nah, maybe. You might be honest.
Psychically.
Oh, psychically. Okay, you specifically meant psychically. Gotcha. Yeah, I thought you meant they were full of shit in terms of just being a military powerhouse in general.
Oh, no. I meant if they had these psychic troops, they should have pulled them out by now.
Yeah, I agree. Even so, Washington is backing its own research into psychic phenomena, and this year doubled the annual funding to $1 million. Now, $1 million in funding a year in 1985, that's probably a bit. Scientists who have worked on U.S. psychic projects say. Sources close to the U.S. experiment say the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, once funded tests in which psychics sitting in a laboratory, given map coordinates of military bases and nuclear plants in the Soviet Union, described those sites in detail that was consistent with CIA data. By the way, this experiment is true. This did happen. I was watching a report on this exact phenomenon on like the Discovery Channel when I was in 5th grade.
Really?
It was crazy. So what basically the military brings this dude who is like one of their government trained psychics supposedly, and he's in New York City, and they want him to they want him to focus on a target, and they tell him who the target is. They don't give him any information beyond who he is, like just his name or whatever, not what he's wearing, not where he is, the whole nine. The target is in California. He's all the way across the country, 3,000 miles away. And so the dude sits in a room with a pen and paper. And I don't know how long he's in there, man. Probably like hours or so. And he's like sweating profusely. And he's like concentrating as he's drawing this out. And he draws an image of a white dude in a suit sitting back like this, holding a drink. And he's at some sort of like upper skyline, nice restaurant right by a row of windows looking out over the city. And that's where the dude was. He got the clothes correct, everything. I think he may have gotten the kind of drink he had wrong, but beyond that.
Dang.
Yeah. Now, again, the reason that the U.S. supposedly stopped funding this shit wasn't because it didn't work. It was because it didn't work consistently enough to be effective.
Oh, wow.
Those are right. Like we stopped funding psychic shit. We didn't. These government programs never actually go away. They just get recompartmentalized and changed to different names, this, that, and the other. But the point is, we only stopped funding this to the extent we did because of the inconsistency, not because it was an outright failure. That's the crazy part. Like that alone, the idea that alone, that we continued, that our government was like, this shit works, just not often enough for it to be viable in battle. To me, that's enough to be like, oh, so psychics are absolutely real.
Yeah. I mean, like you could still use that for information. If you give somebody a name, maybe a photo or something, they can tell you what they're doing if they are actually psychic and where they're at.
Yep. How about the psychic soldier who can affect the minds of opposition leaders, compelling them to act on our behalf, and all while believing they're acting of their own free will? Again, that would be an excellent way to exploit a nation or a nation's leaders, Jake. 100%.
Or to push a message.
So, Cindy, it is about 11:45 our time, give or take.
Yeah.
Do you need to go?
I do, unfortunately. I have my own stream.
It's cool. I'm going to continue running the show, guys. I would, if you guys want to go hang out with Cindy, feel free. If you want to finish this out with me, we will be raiding Cindy immediately afterwards. But we're going to keep going with the Akashic Records stuff because we're about to get into some pretty interesting shit. Before we do, Cindy, tell me who you are, what you got going on, what you're going to be doing, the whole nine.
Well, cuties, I'll be playing Soma. So understandably, you guys should hear the rest of what's going on here on Tinfoil Haters. And then you guys can tell me later what it said. So I'm sad that I have to go because I'm like already invested. But like, yeah, I'll be over on my side. And I look forward to seeing all you cuties later.
Catch you later, girly. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good night, Leon. Have a good night, cuties. See y'all later.
Alrighty. Obi-Wan Kenobi with a two-banger. I mean, we can finish with you. Yeah. Huh? Finish with me. Sure. You people are gross. Anyway, so back to this. The CIA spokesman would not comment on whether or not such tests have been conducted. The Pentagon denies funding psychic studies, and a CIA spokesman told Reuters, "We have no ongoing program for psychic research." Mind you guys, this is 1985. Bullshit. At this point, they absolutely still had ongoing studies into psychic research that didn't officially, have the kibosh put on it until at least 1990. But in 1983, a congressional report confirms the U.S. government had funded psychic research. Scientists Russell Targ and Keith Harari say the Center for U.S.-funded Psychic Research at its SRI International, a private institute in Menlo Park, California. They describe what they were. They describe what they say were their government experiments for the SRI in a recent book, The Mind Race. An SRI spokesman declined to comment on funding sources. Now, why would you decline to comment on funding sources unless your funding sources were the fucking U.S. government military apparatus? So, Targ and Harari state that for 13 years, the SRI has been carrying out a multi-million-dollar series of U.S. government experience in so-called remote viewing. This would be Project Stargate, which they described as the perception, or whatever predated Stargate, depending on what year that started. I don't remember off the top of my head. The perception of events, objects, or people which are hidden from the five senses. In these experiments, they say a psychologist would sit with a psychic subject in the laboratory, while another scientist would stand to an unknown site, sometimes thousands of miles away, which is the test I was just telling you guys about. The subject would attempt to describe the site of which he had no prior knowledge. In many cases, the scientist said these descriptions of objects as large as clock towers and as small as pins were remarkably accurate. The evident result is some telepathic mental process not yet understood. Again, exactly what I described to you guys earlier. They were talking about this on the Discovery Channel in like 2005. Obi-Wan Kenobi for a 5-banger, and then the Pentagon fails the 8th, 9th, 10th audit. It makes you think. It really does. It certainly makes you think. Maybe we need some more. Maybe we need some more gentrification up in the.
Name one word that starts with G, pronounced like J. Gentrification. Shoot, should have thought of that. I was just in San Francisco.
So it goes on to say, Targ told Reuters Soviet scientists have shown great interest in their research and have met with them in the United States and invited them to the Soviet Union for talks. The Soviets were especially interested in whether a way could be found to screen off seekers from psychic intrusion. The DIA report, Soviet Czechoslovakian parapsychology research, is based largely on Soviet scientific literature and describes a large-scale Kremlin program, including mind-over-matter experiments, a field known as psychokinesis. It is said in one set of experience, a Soviet psychic named Nina Kuligina stood in a laboratory beside the heart of a frog, which had been surgically removed and placed in a glass, but was kept beating artificially. As she concentrated on controlling its beat, the rate of contraction increased or decreased at her command, and 5 minutes after the experiment began, she stopped its beat entirely, the report said. Kuligina's ability might be used against human targets, the report said. It said Soviet scientists had reported extensively on experiments in which psychics moved or levitated objects through mind power, a skill that could be used to deactivate power supplies to steal military documents. Now we get to the best part. All of this was the lead up for what I consider to be the magnum opus of today's episode. Men Who Stare at Goats is a great movie. Yes, it is a great movie. It is also based on a real event. Like, obviously, that movie is a comedy, but The Men Who Stare at Goats was actually a real military unit. It was a real military unit. It got real funding. It is crazy. Look into the actual story of The Men Who Stare at Goats. But alrighty. Larissa Valenskaya. I want y'all to remember that name. Larissa Valenskaya is effectively who we will be talking about the rest of this episode. Because some pretty weird shit happened with her. Larissa Valenskaya, a scientist who says she participated in Soviet psychic studies for 10 years before immigrating to the United States, wrote in a recent book that Kuligina managed to affect human heartbeats in a number of experiments. The report said in other experiments reported by Soviet scientists, including Valenskaya, psychics hypnotize people hundreds of miles away telepathically. It said some Western experts are concerned that such hypnosis could be used against the U.S. or allied personnel in nuclear missile silos. Much of the Soviet research described in the report deals with a theory that psychic abilities stem from a brain energy that can be identified and studied. Soviet scientists have developed a machine in which they say can extract the energy from the brain and report that when flies were exposed to a beam of such energy, they died instantly. If such devices can kill insects at present, their potential after reinforcement and enlargement will be for killing men, the reporter said. 1983 congressional report summarized. This is the objections of mainstream scientists to psychic research. Poorly conceived methods, including inadequate controls, faulty equipment, experimental bias, selective treatment of data, general experimental and theoretical incompetence. Now, so basically the mainstream scientists are like, nah, this shit gay. This shit's fucking gay. According to Candace, it's like the cult of science and space. Space is faking gay, according to Candace Owens, because she's fucking retarded. But back to our girl Larissa Valenskaya. This is another declassified document. In fact, this document was declassified a day after that previous one. Check your mailbox. Check your mailbox. The ritual of synchronicity and inner guidance. So this is the writings of Larissa herself. On the Labor Day weekend in 1990, my friend and I arrived at St. Sabina Center in San Rafael, California, with some time to spare before the beginning of the 7th International Conference on the Study of Shamanism. After we registered and found our room, I started telling to my friend, Charlotte Burney, about a workshop on the development of intuition and creative problem solving that I conducted a month ago in early August during a conference at Carleton College in Minnesota. The idea of the workshop came to me after reading Life Between Life by Joel L. Witten and Joe Fisher. I elaborated on their method, combined with some work with earth and cosmic energies and described by Stevens, added some intuitively gleaned details, was surprised by the results. To make a long story short, I led the workshop participants in reading the Akashic Records. So, we are at that part of the CIA disclosure stuff where not only did we just read a paper from 6 years ago on the military application of the Akashic Records, we are now at the point where declassified military documents from 1990 are mentioning the Akashic Records. I don't know how valid this is, but supposedly women are more apt to display psychic ability than men. I've heard that as well. It probably, if I had to wager a guess, has to do with the fact that women are more emotionally dominant than men. You know, men are very logical, men are very analytical, which by and large, I would imagine actually would stifle like any sort of psychic connection. I bet that's actually very heavy on the emotional spectrum, but that's just a guess. I don't know. So yes, here we have the CIA mentioning the Akashic Records. And this one gets weird. The rest of this gets weird. So to make a long story short, I led the workshop participants in reading the Akashic Records. Perhaps there's a message for you waiting there, and you need to go and retrieve it, I said, relating to her phrase I told the workshop participants. About half an hour later, when Dr. Ruth Inge Heinze began her presentation about the ritual process, I was utterly astonished by her phrase about looking for messages in our mailbox. For this is exactly what I asked the workshop participants to do and what I was telling my friend just minutes ago. Furthermore, I found that I intuitively used the process which incorporated the same 7 steps of the ritual discussed by Heinz without ever thinking about them. This coincidence, or synchronicity, prompted me to write about the workshops and share my approach as well as some messages received by workshop patients. Now, I want to remind you, the gal writing this, at this point, she's in America. She is an ex-Soviet psychic spy, but now she's in America, and she's doing shit for the American institutions of psychic research. Now, to me, sounds a little conflict of interesty, but we'll go with it. There were about 30 participants in the ages from early 20s to middle 60s. All of them had at least some experience in meditation, and many meditated regularly. All had some experience in study of spiritual traditions. I first talked about the importance of listening to our inner guidance, about universal Akashic records, which are believed to contain all information about the past, present, and possible or probable futures of humankind, and the power of every one of us to access them. The participants were given instructions as follows. You are about to enter a sacred space. There is great value in symbolism. Whatever you can imagine clearly, visualize clearly, see clearly, has power. Therefore, it can connect you with the sacred realm, the realm you are striving to contact. Before we begin, you can ask a question and send it to the universe if you have a specific question and want it answered. Or you can go and see what comes. Perhaps there's a message for you waiting there, and you need to go and retrieve it. Relax and let go. Don't force it. It will come. In a minute, I will turn on the music. Sorry, guys. My Alexa just like started talking to me out of nowhere. I don't know why. I don't think I said anything that would have summoned her. That's interesting. I won't lie, that kind of made me jump. Anyway, back to what we were doing. In a minute, I will turn on the music and you'll close your eyes and enter a meditative state. You will become a channel of healing, revitalizing energies. The music is on now. Close your eyes. Allow yourself to relax and be present in the present, relax and be in the present moment. Notice a tiny light in the center of your head. Now, a tiny light in the center of your head. That's a pretty common trope. You know, that's where our pineal gland is our pineal gland, the third eye, the portion of our brain that excretes DMT when we dream. So yeah, pretty interesting that they mentioned that. But it gets a whole lot weirder, guys. Be in the center of your head and be that light, your inner self, your soul. Now, place your attention in the pelvic cradle at the base of your spine. Imagine that with every breath you breathe in, you are drawing thousands and thousands of tiny threads of energy into your pelvic cradle. As the many, many threads of energy meet, they intertwine and become a rope of golden energy. Feel the weight of that golden ball of energy holding you to the chair. Allow a portion of the golden twine energy to drop down between your legs. Gather it into a small, dense ball of 14-karat gold, still attached to the golden twine rope. Allow the golden weight and the golden rope of energy to drop down into the center of the earth, all the way down to the exact geographic center of the earth, through all layers of soil and rock, water, gases, crystals, and into the iron core of the earth. Allow the golden ball to fuse with the core of the earth. Feel a tug at the base of your spine and notice that there is a golden beam of energy from the base of your spine into the center of the earth. Leave your grounding cord there. Be in the center of your head. Now place your attention on the arches of your feet and bring a pink earth energy into your feet. Allow this energy to travel up through your leg channels and into your pelvic cradle. Hold this energy there for a moment. Now place your attention to the crown of your head. Bring a blue cosmic energy into your crown. Pull it down to the back of your spine and into your pelvic cradle. Combine, balance, and blend these energies in your pelvic cradle and allow the mixture of energies to run up the front part of your spine and out of the crown of your head. Allow the energy to flow through you. Earth energy into your feet. Cosmic energy into your crown and down the back of your spine. Mixing these energies in your pelvic cradle. The energy then goes up the front of your spine and out of the crown of your head, and the energy flows as water cleansing you, allowing you to flow with the current of the universe. Guys, this is getting crazy, right? This is getting insane. This is sounding like hippy-dippy new age, like yoga hypnotism. But again, this is all being led by a supposed ex-Russian psychic spy that is now in America performing this shit at the behest and at the dollar of the American government, and it was classified until the year 2000. You gotta admit that behind all the new agey hippy dippy, this is weird. This is real weird. Be in the center of your head. Now you will focus on your chakras, beginning with the solar plexus and up the solar plexus, the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the ajna chakra, your third eye, and the crown chakra. You see as they start glowing full of energy, full of light, beautiful, revitalizing light. And now you will see your sacred temple and enter it. What this temple will look like is up to you. A church, a synagogue, a mosque, a chapel, whatever comes to you. For me, by the way, it'd probably be a movie theater. You enter the temple and you are inside. In one of its corners, you see a long stairway going up. You're going up the stairs. I don't know how long you will need to go. It's different for me every time I go. And it's maybe long, maybe not. Keep going. And you'll see a corridor, a hallway with many doors. Maybe some of these doors have signs on them. Maybe not. Maybe there is one in which a sign with your name or a sign inviting you to enter. Maybe you'll just feel this particular door is for you, specifically for you, and you enter the door. What you see there, it can be different for every one of you. I usually see there a big library with many shelves and many books, and they look the same from the outside. But you go to a particular shelf, and you know where to go. Something guides you. You take one of those books and open it, and read what is there for you to read. But it is maybe different for everyone. You can see a room where, instead of shelves of books, there'll be shelves of tapes. Many of them, and a cassette player in the middle of the room. You can choose a tape and put it in the tape player and listen to the message. Or you can be in a room with many videotapes and a video player. Or, in our technology-oriented world, remind you guys, this is from 1990, it can be a message, it can be a computer. It may be a computer and you'll be able to see your message on its screen, or any type of screen. It may be a symbol, a text, a combination of the two. You will see what is there for you. Now I will be silent and allow you to concentrate on your message, which you are about to see or hear. I still will be helping you, and at some point in time, I will ask you to come back and to celebrate your return. Coming back, you won't need to descend the stairs. You will just come back. and we will share what transpires, what happens, and you are there. I'm appealing to cosmic forces to help you. Maybe I will meet some of you there or ask someone to be your guide. If you meet someone there, it's all right. Have a good journey. I went into meditation. In about 20 minutes, I came back. I asked everyone to return, to open their eyes, to stand up, and to embrace the person next to him or her. I congratulated everyone on coming back and asked them to sing the Russian hymn to the earth. If the people lived their lives as if it were a song for singing out of light, providing music for the stars to be dancing, circles in the night. Then I ask everyone to thank the forces inside and outside of us, within and without, that enable us to make this journey. And that's the end of that declassified document. That's the end of that declassified document. But that is not the weirdest it gets, folks. This is not the weirdest it gets. First of all, shout out to Ruby Hoove. Ruby Hoove gifted a Words of Paradise gifted membership. You absolute legend. You love to see it. Thank you oh so much. And after tonight's episode, a lot of y'all motherfuckers gonna need to do it. Now, I see Dax saying, wait, it gets weirder? Yes, it does get weirder than the supposed Soviet Union psychic spy that is now in America being paid by the American government to continue psychic research being in the, classified documents by the CIA. It does, in fact, get weirder than that. I will show you guys how it gets weirder than that. She died. She died in 2001. She died 11 years later. Laura V. Faith, known to her friends by her Russian name, Larissa Valenskaya, suffered a fatal accident on June 13th, 2001. Guys, here's when I say it gets weirder. No matter what I searched, how I searched, maybe I'm just a moron. Maybe I'm a bad researcher. I could not find what this fatal accident was. Every obituary, every piece of writing, anything that mentioned her death, all just referred to it exactly like this. A fatal accident. We don't know if it was a car crash, climbed up on a roof to clean her gutters when really her husband should have done it, and she fell and broke her fucking head. You know, she stepped out on the crosswalk, get clipped by a bike messenger. Same way that Peter tried to lie to the Green Goblin in Sam Raimi's 2001 classic Spider-Man, which came out the same year. In fact, the same month of her death. I don't know. I don't know if it's the same month. I don't know if Spider-Man came out in June or not. It may not have been June. Point is, I can find no information at all on what this fatal accident is. It is always just reported as a fatal accident. Now, maybe I'm crazy, but for a Soviet psychic spy that came to America to continue being a psychic spy, but this time under the pay of the government, who knows where her allegiances ever truly lied, whatever. We're not, this is 2001. We're not talking too terribly long after the Cold War here. Like, she was killed. She was fucking killed. The question is, who was she killed by? Was she killed by the Russians? Or was she killed by us, the Americans? Or was there some third fucking party? I mean, there's a lot of shit that's been coming out in the Epstein files. Probably wasn't Epstein, but you get my point. Like, this is so fucking strange. Larissa was a researcher in the field of parapsychology and human potential studies, a linguist, an educator, and author of several nonfiction books, a booklet of poetry, and over 90 scholarly and popular papers in several languages. Larissa was born in the city of Riga in Soviet Latvia, and after finishing high school, she studied physics, engineering, and psychology in Moscow. Before her immigration from the Soviet Union, her focus of interest research was on parapsychological phenomena and the human potential studies. She was fortunate enough to work with many prominent Soviet psychics, healers, and researchers. And in 1981, Larissa moved to the United States and started working at the Washington Research Center, a private San Francisco-based research and publishing institution. There, she continued to pursue her interest in psi phenomena. It became both her job and her avocation. Larissa's time had been divided between field, laboratory, and literature research, as well as writing, lecturing, and traveling. Her research interests include mental healing, firewalking, shamanism, altered states of consciousness. For 4 years, from 1982 to 1996, she was the editor and publisher of the CIA Research Journal and an international quarterly, as she herself established and promoted, was primarily devoted to research in the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, and China. Guys, I want you to pay attention to the dates. 82 through 86. She came to America in 81. She was the editor and publisher of the CIA Research Journal, an international quarterly she herself established and promoted, which was primarily devoted to research in the Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, and China. A lot of fucking commie places. Spider-Man was 2002. Maybe I was thinking X-Men. Anyway, a lot of commie countries, even though she's in America. In 1986, she co-edited with Maria Mir The Golden Chalice, which included a chapter summarizing some of her experimental findings. In 1991, Larissa, together with Joan Steffi, published Firewalking, a new look at old enigma. In total, she was the author or co-author of over 90 publications, books, book chapters, scholarly papers, popular articles in English, Russian, French, Italian, Portuguese, and other languages. Larissa was an associate member of the Parapsychological Association and honorary member of several of the parapsychological institutions, societies, and editorial boards. In 1987, she was awarded the second prize at the Swiss Foundation of Parapsychology for her contributions to the field. And in 1992 to 1994, she worked as a research associate at the Cognitive Scientists Laboratory and Science Applications International Corporation. Now, the Cognitive Science Laboratory should harken back to a couple of weeks ago when we talked about, why am I blanking on his name? Jacobo Ginsburg. He also spent time at the Cognitive Science Library. I like it when that happens. I like it when accidentally some of our tinfoil hater episodes, they harken back to one another, because it means the shit is all connected. During that time, she undertook numerous trips to the former Soviet Union to establish contact with Psi researchers to learn their approaches, experimental methodologies, and research results. So basically, she never stopped being a toady for the Soviets. Ever. It seems like up until the day she died, she never truly stopped being a toady for the Soviets. Is that why her shit was classified? Is that why they had the information that she possessed on the Akashic record classified? And when they declassified it, she died less than a year later. Now, maybe it's a coincidence. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Do y'all think it's a coincidence? Be real. Be real. Do y'all think it's a coincidence that this gal, psychic Soviet spy, never stopped having interactions with the Soviets? And then not even a year after her information becomes declassified, she dies in what can only be found as a fatal accident. Now, none of this is proof that the Akashic Records are real. I want to make sure that's completely understood. None of what we've gone over here today is proof that the Akashic Records are real, right? The Akashic Records very well could just be an idea, a concept, just something that akin to God, some sort of spiritual hippy-dippy woo-woo nonsense. But that's kind of irrelevant. Whether the Akashic Record is real or not is irrelevant to the fact that our government and multiple other governments throughout our history have used our taxpayer dollars to fund research into psychic warfare and access to these Akashic Records. So much so that there was a paper written about how to militarize it as recently as 6 years ago by the lead epidemiologist at the Baylor University, Dr. Jeff Levins. So if you're telling me that they stopped doing all this psychic research in the 90s like our government claims, bullshit. But I don't believe it for a minute, and I don't think you guys should either. There's no reason on God's green earth, in my opinion, that you could logically come to the conclusion that that our tax dollars to this day aren't funding this sort of what honestly could be completely valid research. On the other hand, it could be some hippy-dippy hoodoo shit. Or third option, it is real, but do we really want these world governments fucking touching it? Any of them? Especially when we just got the release of the Epstein files and we see that, it turns out, like your boy said all along, by the way, that it wasn't just Israel. And it wasn't just America, and it wasn't just the UK. It was the fucking world, a global cabal. China, Japan, the French, the Brits, the Americans, the Israelis, the Saudis. Everyone was involved with the kid diddling. Epstein had his hand in every fucking pie. If that's the world we live in, that we now verifiably know that we live in, do we really want these governments that are taking our taxpayer money and trying to be accessing divine, otherworldly knowledge and history and probable future telling, actual psychic fucking warfare? And do we really think they ever stop doing that? I would say no. I myself would say no. We don't want that. But that's just the world we live in, I suppose. So yeah, happy tinfoil haters, guys. Happy episode of Tinfoil Haters. All right. About time to wrap up. I don't have a whole lot more on this subject. But let's go ahead and see what some of y'all are saying before we go on out of here. Found what happened to her. She was struck and killed by a coal train locomotive. She crossed the road tracks of Grove Avenue, just steps from her off. But I don't know how you found that, because I couldn't find that. So good job on finding that. And you're right. That's shady. How many people just accidentally step in front of a fucking train? That's real weird. Shout out to finding that, C.D. Stein. We understand so little about the nature of consciousness. It is a facet of reality that makes less sense the more we try to understand it. Facts, absolutely. Epstein was slumber parties at the Vatican. That was one of the wildest disclosures. And yet it's one that didn't shock me at all. You're right, it was wild, but it also wasn't shocking. The elites want to be the clowns eating their kids in their sleep. Yes, they goddamn do. I do love the Gateway Project thing. It's how W got binaural beats. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yeah, the Gateway Project stuff is cool. Yeah, happy tinfoil haters, exactly. What's a toady? Like a stooge. Like a stooge. Like a little just a little yappy dog. They'll do anything and everything that you're told to do by a higher power. I don't know if you might be referencing that dumb broad that was on Joe Rogan's show all those years ago. Oh my god, what's her name? The gal that was she herself was a toady for Israel. Oh my god, I'm blanking on her name. Jewish journalist. Jewish journalist. She helped with the Twitter files expose. Why can I not remember this broad's name? I can't stand her. Whatever. Doesn't matter. The Akashic Records is always in the last place. That is true, Zach. It is always the last place you look. Oh, God, the train is coming right at me. Oh, wait, I can just step off the tracks. Exactly. Oh, this is like the Mexican scientist killer. Well, so I didn't know that they would intersect even as mildly as they do when I picked this as this week's topic. But yeah. Epstein with Mom Donnie's mommy kind of blows my mind. That one was a surprise. I agree. Obi-Wan Kenobi with a 5-banger. My ex-girlfriend accidentally found herself in the middle of a train. At least that's what she told me.
I know you've done absolutely nothing productive today, but who gives a shit? You're just a weird little gay boy doing the best you can, and I'm proud of you for making it this far in life as a gay little weirdo. Keep shining.
Keep shining. Alrighty. All right, we about to be out of like 4 circles. Let me set the raid real quick. Give me one moment. We're going to raid into Cinny. There's what? 41 of you here? Are you referring to the Whitney Webb regarding Epstein investigator? No, not Whitney Webb. I'll just Google her right now. It should be easy to find. Jewish female journalist Twitter files. It's going to really annoy me. Barry Weiss. Barry fucking Weiss. How did I didn't remember Barry Weiss? I've taught so much shit on Barry Weiss for so long now. Yeah, Barry Weiss is what I was referring to. She didn't know what a toady was. She was using it all definitively on Joe Rogan. And then Joe Rogan's like, what's a toady? And she couldn't actually describe what it was. She couldn't give the definition. She was just repeating words that she had heard that sounded smart. Yeah, it was bugging me as well. It was bugging me as well. Alrighty, guys. I got the raid set up. Videos every day. If you've not watched today's video, or I guess yesterday's video for me, since it's after midnight, watch it. It fucking flopped. It was a good fucking video. Today's video was a great video, and none of y'all bitches watched it. For shame. It was an awesome video. Run that bitch up. New video tomorrow, and then, of course, we'll be doing the lunch hour stream. Lunch hour streams are heavily political. We always do some pop culture stuff to palate cleanse there at the end. But make sure you check it out. I'll be live then. Videos and streams every day. We're going to raid into Cine. Type in Vital Idol Raid. And until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.